Nancy Green. And my question really is about something that I didn't see in the documentary. Um, as I was watching it, I kind of became curious, so I did a bit more research. And he had a lot of involvement with the Masons and the Prince Hall Masons, and I
So
believe
glad
that
you're
he publicly. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I'm so glad you're asking this question. Please continue.
Okay. And he publicly spoke about how the Prince Hall Masons funded a lot of what he did, a lot of the civil rights movement and things like that. So I was wondering just if you could speak a bit more on that and his involvement there.
It's so I love this question because not only did the Prince Hall Masons fund quite a bit of his work after Groveland, but they also were the reason I believe he lived through all of those rural towns and communities. They acted as a security force, frankly. Prince Hall Masons are the Black Masons, if you know anything about sort of the Masonic order. Um, so there was a significant like several scenes in this film about the Masons. What inevitably happened is that we couldn't really tell the full story without sort of a Mason telling the story. And it just felt too speculative, too, you know, secrets of sort of the Masonic order, and it didn't connect well enough in what we had in the can, and we basically ran out of money and couldn't rearrange things. But I love that you asked that question because there's some significant work that's coming out soon, some books that are coming out soon that sort of talk really specifically about his time with the Masons. But I you're right. It is a glaring omission, mostly because we could not find a Mason that felt comfortable enough talking about all of the sort of aspects of how he became connected to the Masonic order. But yeah, you're totally right. I love this question because it is one of those things that you're like, well, people don't know, so they won't know. But I'm glad that you're asking because they were incredibly important, not just to Thurgood Marshall, but to Black people in America in our history. The Masonic order transcended race in times of enslavement. If you were a Prince Hall Mason and you were being lynched and a white Mason saw your ring or saw a necklace or recognized that you were connected to the order, they would make sure that you survived. And that is a powerful story and testimony about sort of race relations in this country that I think should have more light.
Nice, thank you. Yeah, and it was fascinating, and so I kind of did a deep dive. I'm still researching, so yeah, it's very
A
interesting.
book coming, Larry Gibson. There's a book, don't print that I said that, but a book is coming. Larry Gibson, who wrote Young Thurgood, is planning and is a Mason, is planning to um, sort of tackle that story.
Okay, nice, thank you.
Thank you.
So I wanted to touch upon something that you said earlier that I was also thinking about when I was watching the documentary, and that was about how like his personality, like they came from so far to hear him speak, and it was like an event, and he was just known as like this guy who was very charming and everything. And I wanted to know, also, you just now you spoke about like the differences between like what you want to do in terms of like civil rights and things and your son. And I've always kind of felt that, whenever you're talking about this kind of a fight, it's always important to know that there are multiple pieces and multiple roles, not just one way of going about it. So I wanted to know, especially in this time now, what can people learn from Thurgood and the work that he did and the way that he approached it and the way that he worked with the people that he worked with in, making these changes.
I love this question. I think Charles Hamilton Houston, his mentor, that was the dean of Howard Law School, it required perfection. And he required perfection because to challenge people, to challenge your enemies at a sport that they made the rules and the rules are the rules and they're established rules. You have to project perfection. And he did that in his work. It's so much so that legal briefs, this is the time of typewriters. He didn't allow liquid paper. There was no liquid paper. If you made a mistake, you typed the entire thing again. And that was a requirement that came from Charles Hamilton Houston, was taken to the Legal Defense Fund. Obviously, now we don't have typewriters and you can just backspace, but this idea of crossing your T's and dotting your I's when you're going into enemy territory. And I think it's a poignant lesson. It's an important one. But I also think that in the life that he lived, he was also this like gregarious, like he was like that guy. Like he was a Mason, he was an alpha. He, hung out with Cab Calloway and was like on the scene in the Harlem Renaissance when he wasn't on these trains fighting litigating these battles. So I think it's also a reminder to be a whole human, to fall in love, to live a life, to have children, to get married, I think in this pursuit of making it being change makers, as President Obama often says, we're looking for change makers. We're trying to create change makers. Like when we're in this pursuit of change, you know, we also need to live lives, live a full life. You don't need to pretend you're living a full life, live a full life, authentically. So I hope that answers.
Okay. No, it does. It does. Thank you. Thank you. And yeah, very interesting, very good documentary.
Thank you.
And yay, PBS.